Hello there, Geminis. Welcome to your weekly reading. So this is going to run roughly from December 3rd until December 9th. So I just feel like the energy for this week is going to be a little bit heavy, okay? And hopefully the majority of Gemini viewers that are watching this can watch it early on so that you can navigate this energy or this week, or just navigating the events of this week with a little bit more grace and with a little bit more I want to say having the proper knowledge so that you know how to navigate and outmaneuver this energy. When I was shuffling the cards for you, I saw a scene in the desert. So it's like just a lot of sand, mounds of sand, and just, sand shifting with the winds. And what looks to me was on the ground, there were whirlpools. And, they're sort of like riptides or whirlpools that you see in the ocean. But this is in the desert. So there are a lot of them. I see 6 of them, especially on the ground in front of you, and I see you trying to, avoid them. So it's almost like, avoiding landmines, avoiding obstacle courses, trying to find your bearing and trying to find your way without falling into these whirlpools. So that's what I'm sensing here. And if we're using that imagery to kind of dictate, what's coming in store for you for this week, first of all, the one thing that came out in the spread here is the need to not cut corners, okay? If we're going to do something properly and we're going to do something the right way, and if we're going to cover our tracks, if we're going to make sure our plans are foolproof, then we're going to have to do things the right way. So there's a huge emphasis here on not cutting corners, on having all the information in front of you and then making a decision by factoring in all the information that is available to you. So this means, just because you see something, you're like, oh, I don't like that, I'm going to disregard it. No, you have to take everything into account, and you have to make an informed decision based on every piece of information that you have in front of you. So factoring things in, not omitting things, not cutting corners, taking an additional, few minutes, few hours to do the research so that you can fill in the knowledge gap, so that you have full information, full disclosure before you make a decision. I do see conflict coming into the picture, and this is like institution, so possibly in the work front, in the family front as well. What I have here is the Hierophant. And this is institution, usually educational. I'm getting a really big work energy with this, okay, where things are very hierarchical, and there's like a chain of command. Every decision needs to go up the chain of command, and then every decision, every decision has to go through an expert. Every decision has to be screened out and vetted before the person on top can make the decision. When it's in the reverse position, it's almost like getting really frustrated with this bureaucratic process, because everything has to be looked over by higher ups, everything has to be delayed, and just there's a lot of red tape, there's a lot of people with differing agendas, and it's slowing down the process. But once again, I feel like, yes, it is a very archaic, time-consuming, possibly inefficient process, but I feel like it needs to happen because all the people that are looking at a situation before they can approve it, before they can decide on the best course of action, they are experts in their field, and they're making the decision from their perspective. So you have to respect the process, and you have to, allow for this, no matter how slow and frustrating it can feel at the time. You have to allow for the natural process to unfold. This is a card about disagreement here. we have the Five of Swords, and the Five of Swords is winner takes all. Okay, lack of compromise, wanting to make like these executive decisions without consulting other people, and it's sort of like one person leaves with all of the jewels on their sword, and then the other person is left with nothing. So, in the spirit of compromise and in the spirit of, trying to do the right thing, it is really crucial for you guys to understand that these protocols and these processes are placed or put into place because there's a need for it. So that one person doesn't make the decision only based on their self-interest and essentially screws everybody else over. So we have to kind of allow for this process to naturally unfold, end up in this situation, okay, where these choices are made almost like in a vacuum. And the ramifications of that would be one person commits an act of like grand theft and leaves everybody else in the cold, okay? So I feel like these processes are put into place to prevent that situation from happening. So there is a major power struggle that I'm feeling here, push and pull types of energy between one person with their own agenda and another person with things that they want to see happen. And there is a lack of compromise. There is a lack of mutual understanding. There's a lack of being able to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes so that we can understand where they're coming from. This is a conflict that I feel where two people cannot see eye to eye with one another. They essentially have the same goals. They do want to sail away from this. So like you and another person, you both, believe it or not, have the same goals, have the same understanding. This is the Ten of Pentacles, building a legacy for yourself, leaving something behind, stabilizing your financial future, having financial backing, having a financial foundation on which you can build, especially a family, a relationship, a work situation. So you both want the same things. And you both are at a point where you both can collaborate and communicate and compromise in order to reach this really exalted space. But egos are getting in the way. Egos, conflict, communication, back and forth, banter, that kind of escalates and exacerbates a conflict, okay? So there's a lot of ego issues coming into the picture that's disallowing two people from being able to build together and being able to see that, you know what, we actually have the same goals, we have the same agenda. So that's what I'm feeling here. And if this is an ongoing conflict, I feel like it is coming, it is being revisited, or it is returning into the present moment. We have here the Ten of Swords in the reverse. So this is the reemergence of something that we thought was dead and gone, and now is making a comeback. Okay, so I'm feeling greatly some secrets being coming forth, some major revelation, something being unearthed. Okay, so it's almost like it's almost like, and this is not literally speaking, this is just figuratively speaking. It's almost like digging up somebody's grave, and there's a tombstone with the person's name, and everyone went to the funeral, and everyone watched the person in the casket being lowered into the ground, and everyone puts on their flowers, and the groundskeeper shovels dirt onto the coffin. It's almost like unearthing, like digging up the casket, opening it up, and then realizing there's no body in there. So once again, that is a figurative, way of explaining this. It's not literal, but I feel it's almost like something like that, a sleight of hand or a situation that everyone knew to be true. But then for this week, it's not true. Somebody kind of did a switcheroo, or somebody did a sleight of hand trick, and then the situation is not what it seemed. All of a sudden, the situation is not what it seemed. And so you're given all of this information, and you're trying to unravel it to figure out what exactly happened. What is the motive behind that? Why would someone do that? Who would be able to pull that off? How could somebody pull, the wool over my eyes like that? How could I have believed that? How could I have, why didn't I know? So I'm seeing all of these questions, and I feel like it's such a dramatic week. Like the events that unfold, and I feel like it happens in succession too. It's not just one major big revelation. It's sort of like events culminating, leading up to this major, major big revelation. So I'm a believer of signs. Signs from the universe, signs from your spirit guides. And I feel like you were hit with many different signs along the way leading towards this major revelation. So I almost feel inclined to say, like, this should not come as a surprise to you. But that's what I'm feeling. It's almost like all the signs were there, little by little, moving you towards this big revelation or preparing you for this big revelation. And I feel like maybe the signs were ignored. Maybe somebody was, it's like the red herring distracting you from other things. And in the process of being distracted, you were not able to see the signs, or you were not able to, there's a big sleight of hand energy here where I feel like it could come from you, Geminis, or it could come from your environment, okay? But there's something here where it's almost like being so tunnel vision and so focused on some aspect of things, and we're missing the whole picture. So going back to that first image that I saw, I feel like it's shifting sands, okay? It's almost like that mirage in the desert. What we think is our destination. We're heading towards the oasis, and we're trying to find refuge away from the heat and the scorchiness and just the dryness of the desert, heading towards this oasis, and we feel like it's in front of us, but then everything turns out to be a mirage. And then we're left with, these whirlpools of sand that you have to kind of maneuver your way through. So I just see everything as a series of events that allows you to see that everything is very fluid, that everything is like shifting sands under your feet. Needless to say, there is a big need here to be firmly grounded, okay? The decisions that you make, the things that you're planning, and whatever it is that you're planning to do. I feel for some of you, talking to a boss, and the boss is not able to give you anything definitive. Like, we don't know yet. We need to get the projections for next year, so we're not going to be able to, approve that raise, open up that position, decide on a course of action, finalize the contract. So everything is like on hold, and everything is just like contingent upon other things. So I feel like if that's the case, you might be frustrated. You want to move things along. But once again, everything is built on shifting sands. And the desert landscape, it changes too with the weather. There could be, very severe windstorm. And it changes the mounds, it changes just the landscape. So what was there yesterday might look very, very different the next day. And so if you're used to one way of doing things, you're going to have to quickly adapt to these shifting sands and do things a different way. And it's going to be frustrating because when you're in the midst of this, it is not your place to be able to ask these questions. Why are we switching protocol? Why are we changing our objectives? Why are we changing our agendas? And I would say that, the reason why we have to do this is to accommodate some recent big changes, to accommodate and make room for new things. New things might be better, or to just accommodate the climate that we're in. So I feel like it can feel a little bit frustrating. I see for others too, this is in regards to your significant relationship, okay? There's definitely a situation where things were building up, and I see like concentric circles, small, medium, getting bigger and bigger. So things are culminating in your love relationships, and I feel like many of you have been with somebody or are staying with somebody that you're no longer in love with. And you have flirted with the idea of, divorce, separation, hightailing it out of there are the words that I'm hearing. Like, I don't want to be involved in this anymore. Emotionally, I'm spent. I am no longer emotionally invested in it. But the financial burden, if you were to get divorced, is really, really, really big. It's almost like, so let me show you the cards. Ten of Pentacles, family. Ten of Cups in the reverse. Ten of Cups in the reverse is like no longer seeing eye to eye with the other person, no longer in love with the other person. But here's the catch. Five of Swords, winner takes all. So if we were to proceed with divorce, separation, one person is going to take everything. So I'm feeling here there's a lot of paranoia regarding finances, regarding money. And I feel for some of you, this can play out in a divorce proceeding, court proceeding, not wanting to leave a relationship because of financial considerations. For those of you who are traveling, I do see travel and movement. You're obsessively planning over it. Where am I going to stay? What stops am I going to make along the way? Do I have the financial resources? So those of you who are dealing with that, you're going to be fine. You're going to be okay. You're going to sail over your financial woes, okay? And all of it is happening because you're taking the steps and you're doing your due diligence to plan these things. So I definitely see people traveling with a family member, with family, and I feel like it's going to be an expensive trip. It's expensive, but you will be okay because I feel like, if there's a will, there's a way. The universe will intervene and help. There's a certain amount of luck here too, I feel, like necessary luck in order to get things off the ground, okay? So it is a lot of it has to do with you putting in the effort and the work in order to do your due diligence, in order to do your research, in order to plan things out and lay out a blueprint for yourself. And so the universe is helping you, is sprinkling some lucky, stardust on you to make sure that this venture is going to go the way that you want. But the universe would not have intervened if you just, coasted and not do your portion of the work. Does that make sense? So I feel like there's definitely a certain amount of divine protection and luck coming through to help you through this week. Okay? I'm also seeing as well, I feel like for those in relationships and that you're no longer in love, okay? And when you're no longer in love with another person, you might care about the other person, but the love is not there anymore, or you feel like you have outgrown the relationship, and you almost feel like it's time to go on. Like, it's time for me to move on. But I feel like many of you fear leaving this relationship because it's sort of like the devil that fearing the uncertainty, fearing the whole process about, I have to go out there and date again. Dating is so awkward. And what if I don't find anybody as good as this person that I have right now? what if, you know, I'm too old and I can't find anybody? So I see some of you with that element as well. Um, what if people are after me only for my money? Or even what if I can't find somebody that wants the same things as me? So I see this element about staying in a relationship because of the comfort and the familiarity, and having all these questions as well, like fantasizing about, you know, bachelorhood, the single life, and wanting to go out there and possibly even go after another person, but not being able to take that leap of faith just yet because you have a lot of self-doubt, because you're dealing with self-doubt. Um, I see many of you too having trust issues. It's not prominent, but I feel like it's one of the reasons where, and I feel like the trust issue stems or ties in or exists in conjunction with, what if someone is only after my money? You know, what if somebody's only after my fame? What if somebody is using me kind of like as a stepping stone for their career, or they're only using me to help them in some way, or they're only using me to boost their status in some way? So I feel like some of you have a lot of fame associated with you, and you're weary about dating because you don't want to be used. You don't want the other person to take advantage of you. Um, there is a person that you are going to be communicating with. You could be single or coupled up. And I feel like there's a lot of fantasies. I'm seeing, like, you know, fantasizing about another person. And I'm seeing a lot of electronic communication. Whatever barriers there have been when it comes to communication, when it comes to trying to, I feel like somebody is communicating in a very cryptic way that's hard to understand. And honestly, it could be you, Geminis. I see like 60% it being you and 40% being the other person mirroring you. So if you're not communicating clearly and succinctly, then the other person's going to give you a dose of your own medicine. If you are communicating very, very clearly and succinctly, clearly yes or clearly no, then the other person is going to mirror you. So in order to improve the communication here, it's like the ball's in your court to try to initiate more honest, thoughtful, and meaningful types of communication. So I feel like there's a lot of electronic communication between you and another person. Um, I'm seeing I'm seeing a fire sign, so Sagittarius, Aries, or Leo. And I'm seeing the fire sign here with the Page of Wands. It's not so much the page energy that I'm seeing, but more like a person that is a little bit more heart on their sleeves, flamboyant, fun, playful. So if you're giving them, you know, um, confusing messages, I feel like they're going to dish it back. And so we have a cycle here that we kind of need to break, and it is within your control, and the ball's pretty much in your court to be able to do that. I see many of you too getting more physically active. I see more lifting weights. I see more like I see somebody bending down and, you know, like squatting, or even doing weights or doing repetitions like I see like weight training, strength training. I'm also seeing a lot of people doing a lot of swimming as well, which is I don't know how that would work. I guess they would heat up the pools, but I see a lot of swimming. Um, the last thing that I want to mention here is I feel like somebody exists in your eyes as being too good to be true, and you have a little bit of trust issues, and you're seeing this person as like it's almost like you don't trust you don't trust this person. And I feel like you have to really ask yourself, have they ever been deceitful? Probably not. They haven't. Have they been forthright and, honest with me? I feel that they have been. But your trust issues are clouding your judgment. Okay? And I feel like you want to come forward to this person. And I feel like you are doing you're doing this kind of like beating around the bush with the other person. And I just feel like you should communicate in a thoughtful manner, in a meaningful manner, and, forge ahead with that connection. Okay? There's a lot of things being revealed when it comes to emotions, when it comes to travel plans, when it comes overall to people's feelings, your feelings. But I feel like, honestly, the ball's in your court. Everything is, your free will is it's clearly imprinted on this spread. Meaning, to me, it sounds like, you have the ability to change the course of this week. You have the ability to mold and shape and manipulate this energy. Okay? I'm going to leave it at that. I hope the reading is helpful. I know that we're touching on many, many different topics, but I feel like it's all encompassing. Many people will deal with this in their work environment, in their love life, with family, etc. So I hope it's helpful either way. I hope it resonates with you. I hope you guys are watching this early so that you can figure out the right path for you. Okay? I'll see you guys next week. Take care.